everyone, it's Allison here, also known as the Sun Fae, and I'm here today with another Zen Doodle with me video. In fact, this is the last video for this month. And so I'm going to fill in all of these blank boxes with the remaining tangles for the Zen Art Challenge this month. As a small reminder, the Zen Art Challenge is a challenge hosted by Heather over at Mindful Creativity with Tangles, and you can also find her on Instagram at Mindful Creativity. So just be aware of that, and I'll include a link to the Facebook group down below. But let's go ahead and get started with this week's tangles. The first tangle that I have for you all today is called Tendrils, and it's by Suzanne McNeil, who did a couple of the tangles that we did last week. And so the way to get started on this one is we're going to start by drawing some tendrils. So the way I suggest doing that is that you start at a place on the bottom, kind of make this curved line going up, and then once you get to the top, come in and curl around almost into a spiral, but not quite. And then if you come back out slightly, and then kind of angle your way out and follow yourself all the way back down to make the first part of one. And then you can add as many of these as you wish. Just like that. And once you have the beginning parts of the tendrils drawn, we can go ahead and decorate and fill them in. And the way the pattern suggests to do that is about halfway through that curve coming back. What you want to do is fill in everything from that halfway point going out towards the tip. And then to do a little more decoration, another thing you can do is to throw in small little circles that go all the way through the white space on the tendril. And once you have those, as with most things that have this tendril-like effect, some are more thicker than others. And so to represent the thinner ones, the way to do that is to come along and kind of follow your outside line and then come up and teardrop in. So you go through your line, you circle around once you get towards the top, and then kind of try to angle back in pretty quickly. And you can fill in the rounded end. And just like that, we have tendrils. That's really kind of cute, and I'd love to put it in a underwater themed piece. Anyways, I hope you really enjoyed this, and let's go ahead and move on to the next tangle. Alright, this next tangle is called Anne, and it's by Adele Bruno. And the way that we're going to start with this one is, if you're using plain paper, you're going to want to make a dot grid or a grid. Since I already have a dot grid on my page, I'm not going to bother trying to make another grid. And for each iteration of the pattern, you want to have it be 5 dots or 4 squares across, and 5 dots or 4 squares down, depending upon how you choose to interpret that. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to start from the center dot and go out 1 dot, and then follow it most of the way out to the second dot, but at the last minute curve up to the dot that is right above it, So this is for the upper left wing. And similarly, we're kind of going to do the same thing with that corner. And now coming into this last dot, we're immediately going to go into a curved angle down, so that way we can meet back up with the center. And we're going to repeat that on the other side, just like that. And once the upper wings are in place, we can do the same technique for the lower wings. Like so. And once we have the wing layout in place, we're then going to create the body portion. And the way to do that is on the top half, do an oval that's almost a circle. So I have it go about 1 dot out. And from there, I'm going to draw my little antennae on the end. And with the bottom half, I'm actually going to have this one go out the full 2 dots, pretty much, just to give it some separation. I'm going to come back and fill those in here in just a second. But to add some decoration to the wing, one of the things you could do is come in now and kind of make this little spiral from your center point. And just do that on all your wings. And once you're done with that, you can choose to color the body in. And just like that, I am all done with Anne. I actually really like this because I like butterflies in general, and I've never had a good way to draw one that wasn't the simple, oh, just do a B in one direction and a B in the opposite direction. So this is really, really cool. And I'm really happy that I now know how to do this. So, and I could gush forever about that, but I'm going to save you guys some time and just go ahead and move on into the next tangle. All right, the third tangle that I have for you all today is called Locomotive. And with the image that I have, it's difficult to read the author's name, so I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but this is not my own tangle. And I will include a link to the source down below. So the way you want to get started with this one is you're also going to make a grid for it. With this one, in the space I'm using, I'm dividing my square, which is a 6x6 square, in half in the horizontal direction, and then vertically I'm splitting it into thirds. And that gives me 6 rectangles to work with. And within each of those rectangles, I'm going to create the same little parabolic shape that goes from the upper left corner to the lower right. And after I have separated out each of those, in each rectangle above the parabolic shape, I am going to do vertical lines that go across and fill in the space. And once those lines are in place, the next thing to do is to make ovals that go from really big on the left edge of the underside of the parabola and make them smaller and fill in the space that's left. Once all of those ovals are in place, any extra white space on the underside of the pyramid that's outside of those ovals, you can fill in with black ink. Just like that, we're all done with Locomotive. This is pretty cute. Maybe not my favorite one to draw. My hands started cramping up a little bit there at the end. But, yeah, I could see how you would use this in a piece. So, who knows? Maybe I'll revisit it at another time. But I'm going to go ahead in this tangle here and move on to the next tangle. The fourth tangle that I have for you guys today is called Jasmine, and it's by Simone Bischoff. And I'll include a link to the source down below. And this is another one that we're kind of going to set up a grid beforehand. And to give you guys an idea for how I'm doing this grid, I am now splitting the thing, my 6x6 square in half vertically. So there's 3 dots, or 3 squares above the line, 3 squares below the line. And then I am also splitting the box horizontally into 6 equal parts. Just like that. So that is our starting point for this pattern. And then what you want to do is you're going to alternate every other time, and you're going to make this little, it's almost like a mermaid tail, but only half of it coming in. And the way I do that is I start at the far corner, and I follow down really, really close to do the lower part. And then I come out over and down. And then with the top half, I go over pretty quick and curve in and follow the line all the way down. So I'm just going to repeat that. So on the first, the third, and the fifth one, in the upper half, and on the second, fourth, and sixth one in the lower half. Alright, we've clearly already seen that I've made a mistake. So I am going to utilize my white gel pen and go over the extra lines that I've drawn in. Eventually they'll disappear in the greater scheme of the pattern. Alright, so I just so you guys know, I took a couple-minute break to let the gel pen dry, so this is not instantaneous here. But I'm back now to do the rest of the tangle. And so the next step in the tangle is to more or less do what we did in the empty spaces, except going the opposite direction. So sticking close now along the right wall, and then coming in to the lower left corner. So now we kind of have our, I think they look like mermaid tails, but now that we have them set up, we can create some more lines inside of them. So just kind of to fill them in a bit, so that they're not just empty white space. So now we have it all filled in, and the next aspect of this is to create this little 4-petaled flower in the empty spaces between everything. And so the way to do that is to just kind of come out and hook. So just do like a little tilde and a little reverse tilde. And we can kind of fake do this flower like thing in the remaining spaces. To add a little more definition to it, we can just kind of fill them in using some bold X's. Just like that. You can kind of see in the instructions, it's actually inspired by this old tile that I believe is Portuguese in origin. And it's really, really pretty. And I would love to experiment around with this tangle a little bit more. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And let's go ahead and move on to the next tangle. Okay, our 5th tangle for today is called Krob, and it's by Lizzie Main. And this one, I'm only going to do one of them, but you could feel free to fill in whatever space you're working with as many as you want and as large or as small as you want. So the way to approach Krob is we're kind of going to make a circle. But every so often, we're going to skip some amount. And so once we have our circle set up, we can go ahead and make these spikes that start out at the edge of the circle and then come in just a little bit. And once you have your spike, you can connect the 2 lines using a curved line. Just like that. And we could add more spikes that aren't quite on the front by drawing little angles that come off of the sides here. And just like that, we're done with Krob. You can also choose to shade and color this in however you want. I'm just going to leave it as is. But yeah, feel free to interpret how it should look as you wish. But I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next tangle. All right, the final piece that I have for you today, and the final piece that I have for you this month, is called Gemstones, and it's by Kim and Zoe Creations. And there's a reason why I call it a piece and not a tangle, and that's because tangles for me are just straight up pen paper. And what it looks like they did here is they used watercolor, and I don't watercolor. I don't know how many of you watercolor. So I'm kind of gonna modify it a bit, kind of work it within the same theme, and I am taking advantage of the Tombow dual brush pens and a bit of a grayscale instead of doing some color. But yeah, that's how I'm going to choose to approach this one. So the way I'm going to get started with this is I am going to make a circle that is about 2 squares in radius. I know you can hear my inner math nerd because I am a math person, and that's the whole reason why I can draw circles as well as I can on a grid, is from drawing them for forever in math class. So yeah, nerd alert right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lightest gray that I'm using, which is the N89, and I am going to come across here in the lower portion, in the lower right third, and I am just going to make an arc of this color down here. And then similarly with my next shade of gray, which is the N75, I'm going to come in right above it and do another arc of this slightly darker gray, which I know doesn't look all that dark, or maybe it does on camera. And finally, I'm going to come in with my third shade of gray, which for today is the N35, and I'm going to do the top portion here. And just to get this all to blend a little bit better, I'm going to use my colorless blender. Ooh, if I can uncap it. And just kind of come through on the edges and maybe do a little bit of blending. Alright, I'm gonna let that sit and dry for a second. Alright, and I am back. And just to give you guys an idea, I've let this sit for about, say, 10 minutes. And really all I need to do to finish off this tangle is to come in with my white gel pen and make a little arc right here that shows light reflection. Anyways, this was definitely an interesting experiment, and yeah, I need to figure out more about how to color things when I have to do a bit of a blending process. All right, that is it. We are done for this month's Tangles and, well, art piece. So, I just want to say a huge thank you for sticking with me so far. I will be back for April. As a bit of a small note, since April 1st is on a Saturday, I am planning on combining it with the following week's video, even though I usually go from a Sunday to a Saturday. The next one will go from April 1st to April 8th, just so that way I don't have just the one tangle sitting on its own in a video. Also, I am going to be traveling for the next little bit, and around that time I'm on spring break. And since the new tangles haven't been released, I can't exactly pre-record it. And while I believe I will have time and space to record the next video with where I'm going to be, I don't want to give that as a guarantee. And so while I want to say that my next video will be out April 1st, it might be that my next Zen Doodle with me video will be out April 4th, just because of all the travel and planning that has to go into it. But yeah, that's just like a small little logistics thing. I really hope you guys enjoyed the tangles for this month. I know I did, and I hope to see you all again next month. And in the meantime, have a wonderful, wonderful week, and enjoy yourselves. And I will see you all later. Bye.